Welcome to Good Night Book with Erica and Nate.
Are you on multiple screens?
No, just one screen. I'm a one-screen man. Always have been. I don't like to move my neck around.
It's bad for your neck to move it. You should just always be locked in one spot.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I practice a fusion style of computing.
That's good. Did you get the surgery that they recommend for it?
Well, no. The doctor looked at me and said, "You don't have to. You're so good at it. Like you've you've given yourself the surgery." And this way, like, because what I was worried about, is obviously going to, tennis matches. And so this way it gives me like the opportunity to, splurge a little, do a little damage, it's sometimes you just gotta live with a little, and
get that
move my head back
C5 rotated. Yeah.
Exactly. That C5, that's exactly, you took the word C5. We said it at the same time almost. The
right.
delay. Oh, by the way, you sunk my battleship. That's what I should have said. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I'm really good at Battleship. This is like, honest to God, the game that I'm best at is Battleship. You ever play Battleship?
I wonder what... Yes. Yep. I'm just musing on what skills it takes to be good at Battleship.
Empathy, I think. I think it's that you can really... Because I'm really good at figuring out what people are thinking. Like, figuring out what their dumb strategy is. So it's like, the better I know someone... Whether or not I played Battleship with them, the better I know someone, the more likely I am to beat them. I've never lost to Viv.
Do you play regularly?
No, we've never played, actually. So it's a dubious record. But no, we played a fair amount. We haven't lately because of, we're kind of peaceniks these days. So
yeah,
we're looking at what would be the peaceful version of Battleship. Would be like hug assault. No, that doesn't sound very good either.
Be like garden plot. Where are you going to put your radishes?
Oh yeah,
like a Winnie the Pooh.
I like that. So so you're the bunny and they're the gardener kind of deal.
Oh, it's Peter Rabbit. Yeah, we're going to do a Peter Rabbit version of Battleship.
Okay.
Yep.
Peter Rabbit.
Stomp on that bunny.
Peter Rabbit Battleship. Something like that.
Yeah, I think we could turn it violent if we really tried.
Yeah, the revenge of Peter Rabbit, or something like fun or whatever. And speaking of Peter Rabbit, the book we're talking about today is, of course, Frog and Toad Are Friends by Arnold Lobel. Not the smoothest segue, but they are both children's books.
They are.
Speaking of children's books, yeah, that's what I should have said. Speaking of children's books, I should just isolate that. I can use that every time. So we're reviewing Frog and Toad Are Friends today, and that's a book that contains multitudes, first of all, but also specifically 4 stories. And we are really going to focus in on a swim, because I think I'm a big Frog and Toad head over here. How about you, Erica? Do you remember these from your childhood or from Olive's childhood?
No, we never read these to Olive, as far as I know. Unless Brett's been doing something behind my back. It was not sanctioned.
What about sleep reading? I know you do that sometimes.
That's true. I never know myself anymore. I have very fond memories of Frog and Toad as a child. And I'm excited to get into it with you, because just looking at it again was like walking down memory lane. The drawings, the slightly different, or maybe drastically different personalities. I'm not quite sure. And so I only read the swim part of this to refresh my memory.
It's a swim, which I find kind of irritating, to be honest. So I will nitpick you, but I'm on your side.
Okay.
Yeah. So
good to know.
So maybe we should do our synopsis of a swim.
Ass swim. Okay.
Ass swim. You go ahead. You start.
Okay. The ass swim story is about best friends go swimming. One, a sullen, self-aware toad wears a swimsuit, and the other, a confident, optimistic frog, does not. parentheses, wear a swimsuit.
Okay.
The end. Okay.
Not yet. That's the podcast.
I'm always jumping.
So here's mine. Toad is shy because he thinks his swimsuit is embarrassing, and it turns out he's right.
Poor Toad.
Yeah, poor Toad. I don't know. So I'm curious to hear about your relationship with these two characters. First of all, if you had to, like you said, you're not sure about their personalities, but if you had to be, if you were Carrie or Samantha, no. If you were a frog or a toad, which would you be?
I'm definitely a toad.
Yeah, I've always said that.
Yeah. Actually, wasn't that my nickname in high school? I was Toad 1 and you were Toad 2. Yeah.
No, I was the frog.
Were you the frog? Are you identifying as the frog?
I was so wet. No, I was like, just had like clammy skin and very naked.
Yeah.
No, I'm definitely a toad. The like grouchy negator, just like can find the problem in anything and is like super self-conscious, and also like I feel like, do you know the concept of Schlemiel and Schlimazel? I don't really know exactly everything about it, but it's like
besides from Laverne and Charlie.
Yeah, they're Yiddish terms, and it's like I believe if I remember this right, a Schlemiel. So like a Schlemiel is a waiter that walks by and drops their tray. A Schlimazel is who they drop it on. What? So like they're both like, kind of clumsy or like unlucky people, but one of them has stuff happen to them and one person does them.
Oh my God, that's fascinating. Okay, got it.
That's how I understand it anyway. And so like I feel like Toad is Schlemiel and Schlimazel in one, and I have often thought of me as Schlemiel and Schlimazel. Like if I drop that tray, it'll end up on me. So
Okay. I was gonna say, is Frog a part of the Schlemiel Schlimazel equation? No, he gets it all. He gets it. He gets to have it all. Yeah,
he does get to have it all. I would say most. Let me try to think if he ever is like. I guess he's mostly just like annoying sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little bit like irreverent and disregards his friend's feelings in this one.
Well, in this one in particular, so I wanted to talk to you about that, because the reason I picked this one and why it's emblematic of why I like Frog and Toad is because it's not quite like soft all the time. And it's like, so here's the story in case you haven't read it for people at home. It's important for this conversation. Basically, Toad's like, hey, I wear this ridiculous bathing suit when I swim, despite the fact that I'm a toad. Can you not look at me when I put it on? And he's like, okay. And then other people come, and he's like, or other animals come, and he's like, hey, Frog, can you tell those people to get away from me, because I don't want them to see me when I get out? And they're like, he's like, okay. So he goes and tells them, but they are like, what? He has got a ridiculous bathing suit? Awesome. I'm going to sit here and watch. And so then they do, and then they all laugh. And the turn, I guess, at the end, you think Frog's going to be like, I think you look great. But he's like laughing too, because he does look ridiculous. He's like, you were right, Toad,
it's a full,
basically.
Yeah, it's a full body suit that's striped on a toad. Mm-hmm.
So he does look embarrassing. And so I guess that's what I like about it. So you think the
turn... That's interesting. So going back to that, though, you think the turn is that Toad doesn't stick up for him and isn't like a sensitive friend. Sorry.
That's okay.
Frog. So confusing. Aren't they the same? Just kidding, biologists.
One's slimy and one's dry. If you want to call them slimy and flaky, you could. Ew. If that's easier for you to remember.
Flaky. Okay, sure.
I think of toads to be flaky, but just dry. So Toad and Frog. Toad, I do voices for these guys. Who read this to you? Your mom or your dad or both? Or did you read them to yourself?
Probably both. I think they were like both reading to me. I don't think I got voices.
No.
Not
I
for
have
this.
voices. Do I
Tell me your voice.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me pick up the book here so I can read a little.
Is one of them going to be flaky voice and one of them is going to be wet voice?
Yeah, one of them is very wet. One of them is like, it's going to be disgusting how dry it is, really. These are pages turning. You can hear them.
Old-fashioned.
Yeah. It's a sound effect on my Kindle. Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Toad and Frog went down to the river. "What a day for a swim," said Frog. "Yes," said Toad. "I will go behind these rocks and put on my bathing suit." "I don't ever wear a bathing suit," said Frog. "Well, I do," said Toad. That's it.
Oh, I like that.
They're
you could read
British.
these professionally, I
Thanks.
guess. One's a stuffy British guy who's got like mutton chops. That's Toad.
Uh-huh.
And the other one is like Bill Nye. Frog's like Bill Nye.
Bill Nye the Science Guy?
No, Bill Nye from...
Will Nye the DJ guy? There's a billboard on the way up to Oshkosh, or like around Oshkosh.
Yes, that guy.
That says Will Nye the DJ guy.
Yeah, totally that guy.
It's that guy? Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I think of when I think of this guy too.
Perfect. I know.
So
I mean,
yeah, I love
I think
go
their
ahead.
voices are good. No, I was gonna say I appreciate your voices. I think they sum up how your personalities. Why your kids are just like, stop it with the voices, Dad.
Yeah, they're just like, can you read it like normal, please, Dad?
You're so embarrassing, God.
Fucking Anglophile, they call me. And you're not you're no rich little dad, they say.
Mm-hmm.
I like so I think a swim has a bit of a nihilistic message. That's how I think of some of the messages. Like you get to the end and you're like, what was the moral of that exactly? I like that the name of this book, the name of the collection is Frog and Toad Are Friends. It sounds really defensive.
That's true, because I don't really get that vibe at the end of this. Or maybe they are such good friends that they can just persevere through moments of trial and tribulation like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also I think there's some suggestion, probably, well, I assume, that they are more than friends. So I wonder if that's also, it.
There's just a lifestyle choice that we don't want to talk about with this book.
Yeah,
to children.
Single platonic man. Like, it's an Ernie and Bert.
Like Bert and Ernie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are other...
do they have a Schlemiel Schlimazel relationship? Bert and Ernie?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Ernie's obviously the frog.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
for sure.
Also, the voice of Ernie is very similar to the voice of Kermit, the frog. So that's an easy way to remember it. If you get tested on this or whatever, this will be like...
Yeah, good. Okay. Well, if we're going to do more Schlemiel Schlimazel relationships, I know you said Toad is both, but platonic male relationships, then Fozzie and Kermit.
Fozzie and Kermit, Schlemiel Schlimazel, yeah. I would say... I mean, I don't know. Does Kermit even fall into it? I feel like Kermit is kind of it's kind of frog, in that he is neither. I mean, I guess some stuff happens to him. Mostly Miss Piggy. Am I right?
yeah. That's something to dig into sometime.
Yeah, not this time though. Another time. What other? I'm trying to think of other platonic, fictional platonic. Chandler and Joey. I would say Joey is totally... If I'm using... We'll have to go back and edit this. I'll look this up and then I'll edit it to switch around Schlemiel and Schlimazel as needed.
Okay.
But whichever the one is the one carrying the tray is Joey. Okay.
Yep. So Chandler is
and then
the
Chandler's like, could I be any more covered in spaghetti right now?
Good one. I am not good at this male platonic friend game here. Snuffleupagus and, well, I don't know their genders. Big Bird.
either. I don't either.
And I can't get past.
And the person
Sesame
inside
Street.
the suit is named Carol, but it's a guy. So it's
I
like,
know.
it's
So
like, what am I
confusing.
supposed to do? It's like when I was
What bathroom do you even use?
Yeah, when I was a kid, there was just one gender. It. Remember when we were all its, and now we got just all these. It's like Polly this, Polly that. Polly want a cracker? Do you know what I mean, or not?
I do.
You know.
I know.
I mean? Okay.
Actually, I've changed my mind.
Great. Good. I think that was wise. Any other platonic males, fictional platonic males who love each other? There's
Balky and his cousin.
Do they count? And I'll ask just because they're cousins.
Who's to say Frog and Toad aren't cousins?
Well, I would have some biologists, some zoologists that would probably weigh in on this one. I guess maybe they are distant cousins. You're probably right. I mean, one goes ribbit, ribbit, and one goes croak. Is that what toads do?
I guess. Yeah. Okay, but I feel like we're just going to pause on this male plutonic piece for a minute. I still have.
Sorry, hold on. I got it. Pluto and Mickey and Pluto. That reminded me. The plutonic thing.
Pluto or Goofy?
Pluto. I don't think Mickey and Goofy are really close. I think Mickey's kind of like, all right, like he's the boss, and Goofy's like, hey, you want to hang out sometimes? Like, sure, Goofy, yeah, well, see you at work. No, but I'm at after work. Golly, I got plans with Minnie and Pluto. Well, he's a dog too, Anyway.
I know that's so complicated. I think Mickey did a good job to separate himself from the awkwardness that is Goofy.
He's got a full life, He's partnered. He's got that dog. He's got a business to run. He's got a clubhouse to think about.
I know he's a king and queen maker.
Yeah,
he made Britney Spears. He made JT.
Yeah, that's true. And let's face it, Goofy's gonna goof everything up.
Yeah, I mean, if anything were to indicate that, it would be his name.
You're right, exactly. That's why I thought of it. I was gonna say fuck everything up, but then I was like, you know what? I think I'll just go with the goof. But Mickey's like, goof troop, more like fuckhead troop, or whatever. However he laughs, I don't know how he laughs.
However he says that famous line.
I've never heard
line
Mickey laugh. That's kind of dark, huh?
No, he always laughs. He goes, hee hee, like you did. He giggles.
No, you're thinking of the Pillsbury Dough boy. Dough man.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's a dough man now. He grew up. There's no more boy in this Pillsbury. So I wanted to just see if I wanted to say anything else about any of the other stories. So there's Spring, the story, a lost button, a swim, and the letter. I really like these because they're really simple. The stories aren't very complicated, and they're just like slice of life. They inspire me to want to write children's stories, honestly, because they're like funny. Such a good length for like a bedtime story, and I like the idea of having compiled several.
Do you stop then? Like, do you kind of use the chapters as a way of being like, oh, can't read any more tonight. Sorry, we'll have to read the letter and the swim next night. No,
we just open a book and ask, and I tell them what the stories are from the table of contents, and they select it from the table of contents, and then
so they pick.
But this isn't in as high rotation as it used to be. About a year ago, I was looking at a document that we made. We have this kid prompts document that just has it's like a spreadsheet with like hobbies, words, like different categories to fill in occasionally when we feel like it. And a year ago, it wasn't milk and story or whatever. It wasn't story time. It was Frog and Toad time. We just looked at it recently. So apparently we would read that every night. And often she would pick the same story just over and over and over again.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you probably had to throw it away and hide it to get.
No, I love it. all in on these. I can read these 1,000 times. It doesn't matter to me.
Huh. Okay.
And I think it's because the writing is just so simple. The stories are so nice. Nothing about it annoys me. You know, like there's not really many points in it where I'm like, ugh. Like, well, that's kind of an annoying thing to say.
Yeah.
And it's just so basic. Everything's just so basic that it's like, there's not much to object to. It's like ice cream cone debacles. And it's like situations happening and responding to it. I think that's just like, as opposed to like some big plot that they are the protagonists of. Does that make sense? I feel like there's just like something else happening and they're involved, or they want to do something, or they see a problem and they want to fix it, or they've got too many cookies.
They have no dynamics to figure out.
Yeah.
Really. No, they're kind of admirable in that way. I do like how Toad walks away confidently.
Right.
Once it's all over. Once the horror of what he's been dreading actually comes to pass, he's like, yeah, you're right. I do look ridiculous. And he walked away, picked up his clothes, and went home, and there's no resolution. That's it. I kept being like, well, then what happened next?
How did Frog apologize?
Right? Yes.
Yeah. And
it's just kind of simple, like, just clean break. Now we go on to the next day.
It has like
life.
A punchline, basically. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I like that. And I just also, to be honest, I just love their relationship. They just have like a super, like, real seeming and like super loving friendship. Like the stuff they say to each other in times of crisis is really like sweet, and the ways in which they support each other. Especially Frog supports Toad when Toad's such like a sourpuss and it's kind of a bummer, and Frog's just like, come on.
Yeah, right. Like just unconditional love. You're seeing unconditional platonic love. I have a strong memory. I'm just seeing here that they have when you mentioned a lost button, I have very strong memories of some of the visuals from these books, and they're not like a page full of graphics. It's like a bunch of words in a small image. And I think that's an interesting device. And there are not a lot of complicated images. One of them was when he was sick, maybe, and like under the covers, and it looks like he's in a tunnel. I was very confused by that picture. I was like, am I seeing an X-ray of the Toad in the bedclothes? That's how I think we should talk about the shapes in this book.
The bedclothes.
And then the button one is also very familiar to me, but I don't remember exactly why. I think it was just like, why do they need this button? Why is this such a big deal?
There's also
how are they stressing?
A never before seen shirtless Toad in that story in The Lost Button, because at the end, to make up for yelling at Frog, he sews all of the buttons that they found onto his jacket and then gives it to Frog as a present. And so he's shirtless and Frog is dancing around in
like enjoying his
tiny
shirtlessness. Cute.
He looks uncomfortable.
Awesome.
He was definitely drawn to look like he's standing there with his hands behind his back, like,
I shan't be like this. Yes.
No, tut tut. I think Hugh Grant could maybe do a voice for him if you, in the Hollywood version.
For Frog or Toad?
Toad. Actually, Frog.
Yeah.
Either way, actually, could be. He could do both. Why not? You know what I always say? Find yourself a Hugh that can do both.
It's true.
It didn't make sense until right now.
Yeah.
I've been engineering this conversation. I've been gearing all of our conversations to this, and finally it made sense. Not even that much sense.
I almost didn't even hear you say it just now because I'm so used to tuning it out.
Right. Well, speaking of tuning out, I think we're about to tune out of the podcast. Is that how it goes?
Yes.
And that's all we really have to say about Tog and Frog, or Frog and Toad. Wes makes me do, I think I mentioned this before, she makes me do the wrong words to stories sometimes. And that actually started with Frog and Toad. And how it started was I would occasionally pretend like I was accidentally calling Toad Todd. And then and Frog was Frank or Greg. Anyway, well, that's all we have to say about Frank and Toad, or Frank and Todd, our friends. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review the show and tell somebody you like about the show. And if you don't like the show, then please tell someone you hate about the show. For a transcript of this episode of the show, or any episode of the show, please send a self-addressed stamped envelope to the show to the address on your screen, and we will send you back a post-it note that just says the show. Until next time, good night, Mush, good night, creepy old lady, and good night, book.
The end.